Hello and welcome to everybody on Cloud Fitness. So in today's Python series, we are going to talk about recursion in Python. We are going to see what is recursion and how do we use recursion in Python. So in case you have not gone through my Python playlist, I do recommend watching all my videos of Python so that you have a better grip over each of these concepts. So let's move ahead and I'll go to the PyCharm editor which I have been using for all of my work till now. So let's go ahead and see what exactly is recursion. So when we talk about recursion is nothing but when a function calls itself, right? We have a function, we already talked about what a function is and how does functions work. So let me in fact write a function for you. So let's say def test. So this is nothing but this is just a function. So let me say I'm writing a print statement over here. Let's say my print statement is test, and then I call this function inside the same function, right? So this is nothing but this is called as recursion. Now if I call this function test, right, let me comment out the later part which we are going to discuss as well. So you will actually see that when I run this, what is going to happen, right? So if you see, let me show you the output. So if you see, it starts printing test multiple times. So what happens is the moment I call this function, right, it goes inside this function, it writes the print statement test, and then it again calls the function. So it keep on going through this loop and it keeps on printing test, and then it finally says that okay, you have called it n number of times and now it says maximum recursion depth exceeded, right? You have called it n number of times and it has exceeded the number of times it can be called. So this is nothing but this is called as recursion. Now there will be multiple places where you can use recursion. It will ease out your job. It will help you to even reduce the lines of the code. So for example, if I talk about the factorial program over here, right? So what you see on the screen is a factorial program. So let's say in case you don't know about the factorial, so let me just type in over here. So this is nothing but this is the formula for factorial. So factorial is represented by n, right? So let's say n is a number for which you want to find the factorial for, right? In this case, you can actually see, let's say if I pass on the number 4, right, the factorial, it starts with the number n, right? This is the formula. It starts with the number n, then it multiplies that with n minus 1, and then again it does n minus 2, then multiplied by n minus 3 until it reaches the point 1. So this is nothing but this is a mathematical formula for n factorial, right? So let me just comment it out and see exactly how we can do it. Now even for writing one program, there are n number of ways, right? So for example, to write the same program, if I ask you that write a program to find the factorial of 4 or factorial of 5, now how do you write it? You can write it in this way. Now in this way, what is happening? I have created a function. I have passed in a number over here, this a, right? I'm just passing the number over here. I'm passing an input parameter over here. I'm saying that okay, this is a function which takes in a parameter a. Now what happens? Let's say if I want to pass in the if I want to get the factorial of 4, right? I'm calling this function fact iterative, right? And then I'm passing in the value 4. It goes to this function. The a is 4 over here, right? Now what happens is your a becomes 4, and then you have already set a value of factorial equal to 1, right? Then you say for I in range of a. Now range function I have already discussed. What does range function do? Range function will start from 0 until the value of a minus 1. So right now the a is 4, so it will start from 0 and it will say 1, 2, 3. So these are the values my range will give. So for I, now initially my I will be 0, then my I will become 1, then my I will become 2, then my I will become 3. So for I in range of 0 to 3, this is how my loop is going to work, and that is why it is called iterative way of writing. Now factorial I have already initialized as 1. Now here I am saying factorial is equal to factorial into I plus 1, right? So initially my factorial will be 1, right? I have initialized here, multiplied by, and my I will be 0, right? I plus 1, so 1 multiplied by 1. So the first value of my factorial will be 1, and then again it will go to the for loop. My I becomes 1 now, because earlier my I was 0, right? The moment it becomes 1, factorial is still 1, right? Now it becomes 1 into 2, right? Then my value becomes 1 into 2. Then again my I becomes 2. It goes again in the for loop. My I becomes 2. And then what happens is it again comes here. Factorial is still 1. And this becomes 2 over here. And 2 plus 1 becomes, your 3. And then you just put in 3 over here. And then again I, do the multiplication, right? Then again, what is the factorial? My factorial is nothing, but my factorial becomes the 3. Now my what the value of this will be? 3 plus 1, which will be nothing, but it will be 4. So this is how my factorial will become 4 into 3 into 2 into 1, right? And in each iteration I am taking in the value from my previous factorial, right? So if you see, initially I initialize the value of factorial at 1. So this is 1, this is 0, I is 0 in the first iteration. So 1 into 1 becomes 1. And in the second iteration your factorial is 1, right? And then your I becomes 1 and this particular value becomes 2, right? Then it becomes 1 into 2, right? And then again the value becomes 2 over here and this becomes 2. I becomes 2 over here, and then again into 3 gets added. So like this, when you go through the loop, right, this is how your factorial function actually works, right? Now this is nothing but this is simply your iterative approach of writing the factorial. So if I run this, the factorial of 4 is completely correct, right? It is 24. 4 into 3 into 2, right? This is how my factorial has come as 24. So if you want to understand, like in case you did not understand through the explanation, what you can do is you can write the program, and also you can write print statements in between. So let's say if I say print A over here, or for each iteration, right, I can also say print factorial, right? So if I do that, then you will also understand at each and every step what is happening. So if you see the first, what is happening, the value of A is getting printed, which is 4, right? Then the value of factorial is getting printed, which is 1. Then again the value of A is getting printed, which is 4, right? Because my A is 4. So in fact, let me A is 4 at all the places. Now let me put it as I and run it, right? Now you will see how range is also working. So if I go here, you will actually see first the value of my I is 0, right? Then my factorial is 1. Then the value of my I becomes 1. My factorial has 2, right? Then the value of my I becomes 2. My factorial is 6. Then the value of my I becomes 3, and my factorial is 24. So this is nothing but this is the iterative approach of doing the factorial. Now this is nothing but the fact, this is the doc string. So I've already made a video on doc strings, what exactly it is. So doc strings are usually put in a functions, like with these 3 quotes, so that it gives a description of the function itself. So now let me comment this thing. Now the same thing, how do we do with the recursion? So if you see, let me comment this part out and uncomment my factorial function with recursion. So if you see in this factorial function with the recursion, what I'm trying to do, I have a function called as factorial. It is taking in an input value as A, and it is saying that if A is equal to 1, return me 1, right? Because the factorial of 1 is 1, right? So factorial of 1 is 1. So that is why this is the first condition, and in the else condition is saying else, right, do what? Say A into factorial of A minus 1. So this is just 3 lines of code which is there, and then I am initializing my value, because the A is nothing but it is the input parameter which I am giving. I am passing it as 4, and then I am calling the function here in the print statement. I am saying the factorial of number 4 is, I am calling the function over here, right? We have already discussed the function calls in detail earlier. So if you see factorial, and I am passing in the number over here. Now if I run this, right, you will say that it says the factorial of 4 is 24. Now what did just happen here? So the value of A was 4, right? Pretty clear till here. Now what happened? Then just because the value of A was 4, it went to the else statement, right? What did it do? It went here and it said 4, and then it said into, right? And then it said factorial factorial of a minus 1. Like, what is a minus 1? 3. This is what happened, right? Then this factorial function was called again, right? Then again it went back to the loop over here, and then again the value of 3 was what? Factorial of 3 will go to the else statement. Now the moment it goes to the else statement, let me copy it. What happens in the second iteration? In the second iteration it happens like this: 3 into 3 minus 1, which is nothing but 2. Then again it goes up because the function is called, right? In the third iteration, what does it do? In the third iteration it will be 2 over here, right? And then it says factorial of 1, right? So this is how it is actually returning you the factorials in each iteration. Then in the last iteration, factorial of 1, right? Factorial of 1 goes to this if condition. Factorial of 1 will be 1, right? Then what happens is this value, right, comes over here, right? It becomes 1, and then 2 into 1, right? It gets over here, and then 3 into 2 into 1 gets over here. So that is how you get the value as 4 into 3 into 2 into 1 as the return. So this is nothing but, this is called as recursion in your Python, and this is one of the very useful thing you might be needed at multiple places. Similarly, there is, if you want to create a Fibonacci series, for example, in that case also you can try and use recursion program to create a Fibonacci series. Fibonacci series is nothing but 0, 1, 1, 2. So what happens is, and it goes on. So for example, it starts with 0 and 1, right? The third value is nothing but the sum of first two. 0 plus 1 will be 1 here, and then the fourth value is nothing but the sum of the previous two, right, which is 2 again. And now again, if I have to put the next value, it will be 3. Then again, if I put the next value, it will be 5. So like this it goes till n. And if you want to generate Fibonacci series, you can do that using recursion as well. So I hope you liked the video and you understood the concept of recursion. It will be very helpful when you actually sit and code. That is when it is actually going to make a difference. And thank you so much for being till here. But do remember to like, share and subscribe to my channel.